Welcome to the WP Builds podcast, bringing you the latest news from the WordPress community. Now, welcome your hosts, David Wormsley and Nathan Wrigley. Hello there and welcome to episode 76 of the WP Builds podcast, entitled How to Build and Manage a Successful Plugin Business with Sujay Pawar. Now, Sujay is from Brainstorm Force, and we'll be talking to him a little bit later. Before that, we're going to have the discussion with David Wormsley and I, David from davidwormsley.com, and that discussion is called Backups. What's all the fuss about? After that, we go to the interview with Sujay, and then right at the end, for a few minutes, we have an ending fact, which this week is how many WordPress comments are there out there? Just to let you know that there are a couple of offers on at the moment. 15% can be had off all Brainstorm Force products with the offer code WP Builds, all capital letters, no spaces. That's available until the 20th of May 2018. Brainstorm Force is the company which Sujay is a part of, so you can find out more about him and his products a little bit later. Also, if you want to get 25% off Main WP, which is a plugin which allows you to manage all of your WordPress installs in one central dashboard, you can use the exact same offer code, WP Builds, all capital letters, no spaces, and you can get 25% off at the checkout. Okay. This episode was published on the 17th of May 2018, and my name's Nathan Wrigley from pictureandword.co.uk, a small web development agency based in the north of England. Please go over to the WP Builds website where you can share using the buttons underneath the podcast player. We always appreciate iTunes reviews because apparently they boost the popularity of the podcast in general. Okay, if you go to wpbuilds.com/Facebook, you get to our Facebook group, /subscribe to subscribe to the newsletter, /advertise if you would like to very kindly put an advert on the podcast, /YouTube if you want to listen to these on YouTube, /Slack if you want to join our growing Slack channel, and /deals where we're going to be putting all of the deals so that I don't have to keep mentioning them all the time. Okay, so today talking to Sujay Pawar. You've definitely come across his products before. He is a part of Brainstorm Force and has loads and loads of products. For example, Ultimate Addons for Beaver Builder, Ultimate Addons for Elementor, Convert Pro, All-in-One Schema Pro, WP Portfolio, the Astra Theme. I could go on. It's a lot. We'll be talking to him in a little while, but first of all, I would like to say thank you very much for listening yet again to the podcast, much appreciated, and we shall now go on to the discussion with David Wormsley and I. Thanks for listening.
This discussion we are calling Backups because we don't have an imaginative title, but it is a follow-on. It's another one of David McCann's suggestion. It's a good one because we've never talked about this one before. And maybe we need to specify what we're talking about here. Are we talking, Nathan, about WordPress backups only, or are we going to go into server backups and how we back up our own computer files and stuff?
I think we should talk about every single way that we can think of backing up. So yeah, let's talk about them all.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. Should we start with WordPress backups? What I mean by that is a plugin that does backing up for you.
Yes. Well, they come in two types, we decided, didn't we? We chatted about this before, and we thought, well, they're either the self-hosted types, and the favorites or the popular ones out there, the best known are iThemes is Backup Buddy and Updraft Plus or Updraft Plus Pro. And there's tons of other ones, actually. Do you remember the names of any of those ones?
Oh,
there's
my
Duplicator.
Goodness. No, to be honest with you, the only one that I arrived at when I got to WordPress, I heard good things about Updraft, but for some reason, I think I went with Backup Buddy and never changed. I can't think what the reason was at the time.
Yeah.
So I never really got into the whole exploring thing. So no, regrettably, I've got no more knowledge about them than that. But I bet there's a whole raft of them.
There is. There's back WP up and back up WordPress. So better mention a few of them, else people get upset with us. But
yes.
Anyway, sorry. And the other types are the hosted types, which well known is VaultPress, which comes with Jetpack. It's quite expensive. And also Blog Vault as well. They take care of everything. They host it themselves. And you spoke to, I've forgotten his name. Sorry, is it the guy who runs Blog Vault?
Akshat Chowdhury.
Yes. Yeah, so they run that. So that's the two types. And then we decided there was a third one, which doesn't kind of fit neatly into these categories. But if you assume that the self-hosting, the downside of it is it uses up all your server resources while it's doing those backups, and the hosted one doesn't because they're doing it for you. There is a third option, which is the WP Time Capsule, which is quite new, which is kind of self-hosting, but it only saves the files that are changed, so it doesn't use up the same resources.
How do the non-self-hosted ones, what did you just call those? Instead of calling it self-hosted, did you just call it non-self-hosted?
Did I just get that wrong?
Yeah, no. I just can't think of. There's probably a word for it. Let's call it the SaaS backup solution. Software as a service. How on earth do they not use your server resources to get stuff off your server?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I guess they do, but they do limit it, don't they? That's one of their selling points, I think.
Presumably, they must use your server to get stuff out. I don't know how that works. That's interesting. But that is the claim, isn't it? So if anybody has more technical understanding of that, when I spoke to Akshat, it wasn't around this topic, so that'd be quite interesting to know. I'm doing all of it off my server. So, at 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that, I have a sequence of events that happen. So backup body goes for 10 minutes on this website, and then 10 minutes later it goes on this one. And I've just got a little spreadsheet of which sites are going at what time, so that if I lose a client, I can then use that slot for backup body. And typically it takes about not even about a minute to run through its process. That works for me. And
that's daily. You do the
backups. I do a full backup every day for every site.
That's interesting. So there's a debate in this as well, because I do daily database backups and generally weekly full backups.
Yep. I just can't see why not. Hard disk space is so cheap. And these services have an element of storing it off-site. So, you can send it off to Amazon, or you can send it off to Google Drive, and then ultimately to your own computer. And then whatever backup system that you've got now, GDPR aside, that works for me quite well, in that I've got a backup of every site every day at a certain time, because I just want to be able to back up the most recent one of everything without thinking about files and any of that. So, if something catastrophically goes wrong, I know that I've got a maximum of 23 hours and 59 minutes where I can say to the client, you've only got to repair one day's stuff. That's all that you've lost. And that works. That works well for me. I like that system, but I could understand why you wouldn't do it that way, and why you just do the database each day and maybe the files each week, because it saves a load of disk space. But I noticed that in Backup Buddy, and presumably all these other products as well, you can limit the amount. So, for example, you could say only store 14 instances of backups. So in my case, that would represent 2 weeks. In your case, that might stretch to 3 months or something.
It's exactly what I do with Amazon S3, is where I save as well as on the server itself, of course. And that's set to auto delete as well.
Yes, exactly. So that once you've got a certain amount, you don't need any more, do you? Because let's face it, if a problem with the website hasn't come to light within a couple of weeks, it's probably not really a problem. He said confidently, like that was sage advice. You wait. What'll happen this afternoon? I need to roll back to 4 weeks ago. I'll get a phone call. But that is a thing, isn't it? The amount of time that you keep backups. Do you make allusion to all of this sort of stuff in your contracts that you sign and the care plans that you have people on?
Yeah, the plan says how much we're going to do backups. So of course I vary that, and I vary it for myself as well. So because we're taking orders, I keep Backup Buddy. So what happens is I use Updraft Plus, and that's sending to S3 and keeping a backup. But I keep Backup Buddy in there so I can do my own backups locally. So I encourage clients, if they've done some major changes and it might fall in between the backups, they do a backup with Backup Buddy as well. So they can control it.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Yeah, we should also point out that plugins like Backup Buddy and presumably Updraft Plus, without downloading the backup or sending it to Amazon or Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever choices you've got, they are in fact keeping that backup on your server. So, if the server goes down or for some reason those files are deleted, your backup will go with it. So that you do need to be a little bit mindful that you're storing that backup, downloading it each week or each day or sending it to Google Drive or whatever. That's my preferred way of doing it. I send everything to Google Drive, and that I've got a large Google Drive account, and that's fine with me. That works perfectly.
Yeah, and I think, that's one of the things that I understand why people go for WordPress and Blog Vault as well, because they take care of that, don't they? If you try and save costs and use Amazon S3, and it is dirt cheap, but it is quite confusing to set those buckets up. It's not an easy task,
No,
you do lose a day.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I've never really used the S3 options in any of my backup solutions. So you do. It's a little bit of a learning curve, is it?
Definitely.
Once it's done, though, I would say that Amazon's architecture and infrastructure is really good. Everybody says so. So it's a pretty safe place to store it, I would have thought.
Yeah, I'd have thought. There is, it was raised actually in one of our discussions on the WP Builds Facebook group, and that was about the security issue as well. So those hosted solutions, WordPress and that, they avoid one issue, don't they? So let's say your site is hacked and you've got all of your details and how to send your files to Google Drive or to S3 or something like that. There's that potential, isn't it, that you give the hackers access to the place where you store your backups or your other backups as well.
Ah, right. I hadn't really thought about that. That's a good point. I would imagine that trying to hack Amazon S3 or Google Drive, in my case, is fraught with difficulty. So I feel okay with that, but I know what you mean. That seems like a legitimate concern. How about these incremental backups then? Do you adopt any of that stuff?
Yeah, well, I tried Time Capsule, and I think it was working fine. Here's the problem with backups: you really need to back up before you know if it's any good.
Yes, and restore. Yeah,
restore, and I haven't done that, and so it is. I'm still testing the WP Time Capsule because I thought the idea was fantastic.
We should explain what the idea is, shouldn't we? Rather than just saying granular or whatever word we've just used.
Yes. Well, as far as we know, and our understanding isn't great on this, we're going to assume that it does the database as a full thing. So you've got that. But what it does is it measures the changes on any of your files. And should that file have changed, it will then send that to the place where your backups are. So instead of using up the full resources, packaging everything together and doing a total re-save, it's only saving the files that have changed. So you have to trust that it knows what files have changed.
Yes, presumably this is in an endeavour to save hard disk space, just to save a little bit of space. If you're on a tight ship with a small amount of hard disk space for your hosting, each megabyte or gigabyte might matter. So if you're only saving the incremental changes, to my mind, just my way of thinking, it's nothing. I'm not suggesting this is a bad idea. Like I say, because hard disk space is cheap, I personally can't see why not have the whole thing. Why not just take the whole thing every single period of time? Because I just can't see why you wouldn't do that instead of going incremental. But there you go. That's just my little prejudice.
Yeah, but I think their selling point was the resources thing. Yeah, I certainly do see it when the saves are going on. It is hitting my server. I can see,
yes,
there's an increase on the CPU and all of that. So, I'm all for that, particularly if you're paying for your hosting and you're trying to get as many clients as you can on your hosting. I can see, it might be a benefit there.
Yeah, and then of course you've got the integrated with your hosting solutions. So, for example, If you've got a cPanel account or you use Plesk or something like that, there
Yes.
are options in there to
Yes.
back up the database, back up the files, and send it to wherever you want to send it to. Increasingly, with the managed WordPress hosting environments gaining in more popularity, that those options seem to be taken care of by the hosts themselves. So you don't really get any choice about it. It's just, if you buy hosting from us, we're going to back your site up every day. No. It's nothing to do with you. And
Yes.
and then we'll be able to restore whatever backup we take by clicking a button. And that's very compelling, I think, actually. The fact that that's just all taken care of. You want to restore, just select from the list of 40 most recent saves that we've got and click restore, and boom, you're done. It's great.
Yeah, it is great, and I've done that a few times. When I
Have
was
you ever
at
done it
SiteGround.
in anger, as it were, where something's gone wrong and you've needed to back it up and restore it? Or is it just, oh, I've mucked something up, let's go back?
Yeah, it's generally the latter.
Yeah. I've had to restore, or not had to, I have restored a few times with Backup Buddy, and I've found it to be a faultless procedure. Nothing, as far as I know, absolutely everything worked 100% fine. You import into the root directory of your file structure, don't you? This, I can't remember what it's called, import buddy.php or something like that, and run that, go to that in your browser, and you just fill in the details, and it, boom, off you go. And it's worked flawlessly. So I've got no complaints about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's with all of these kind of plugins that you buy. I mean, that's you buying two plugins in one, aren't you? Really, you're often buying a migration tool as well as a backup tool.
Good
and
point.
yeah, it's the thing with Updraft Plus. It's entirely free and it's really reliable. But if you need to migrate with it or use multi-site, I believe you need to upgrade to the Pro version. But it's a fantastic plugin.
So they've stripped out that functionality. So if you use the free version, you can back up your own site time and time again, no money at all. But if you wish to then transfer that site, then you'll need to stump up for their license version, the Pro version, so that you can then take that to a different hosting company and restore your site. Well, it's a very generous offer, though, isn't it? Because I would say most people are using it for the backing up, not the migration. That's really good. I can't remember how the pricing for Backup Buddy was. I have a recollection that I've paid one time for forever, lifetime deal, if you know what I mean. So I don't know if they had a site limit or any of that. Not sure.
No, I think it's the same. It was called Gold. I think they've changed it recently. I think the lifetime deal has gone.
Okay.
But but that's what I've been using, and I think it has its critics. Backup Buddy. I think typically people have some difficulty on some servers with it not doing the automatic backups.
Okay.
But in terms of my experience using it as a migration tool, it's always been fantastic.
Okay, well that's good. I mean, I've used it a bunch of times, but I've only ever been doing it from one site on my server to another site on my server, just testing it really to see if it works. And then sometimes, I can't remember, swapping themes or something, I destroyed a file, or I can't remember. Anyway, it's always worked, and it takes a moment or two. It's not entirely massively intuitive. There are a few little hoops, but you read the instructions and it's a piece of cake. And then, of course, you've got the old command line. Ooh, well, I use this quite a lot actually. I use the command line for navigating the file structure for WordPress sites, and then I use the tar command, TAR, which creates a tarball. I use tar.gzip, GZ, which creates a gunzip tarball file, which is a bit like a .zip file, which Backup Buddy creates. And then I store that outside of the root of WordPress. And then I use MySQL dump command to store the database, and it's all just stored in one great big SQL file. And then when I want to restore it, I just wipe the files clean, untar it, stick the files in the right place, takes a few seconds, and then drop all the tables in the database, and then pipe the SQL file back in, again using the command line. So you've got to learn two commands, that is two commands to suck things out, so the MySQL dump command to pull it out, and the tar file command to pull the files out, and then you've got to learn the opposite to put them back in again. The only problem with doing it that way is that if you do anything wrong, it can really screw things up. And obviously, you've got to drop all the tables and things, and that can be a bit fraught with fun. But I would say that of all the solutions, it's the least likely to fail. It's the most likely to work, and it's super fast once you know what you're doing. And literally, you could once you've perfected the commands and tried it a few times, you could just drop them into into a text file and just copy paste them, replacing the values. For example, I always save them with a file name with the date in. So, you might just delete the date and put the date in correctly each time, and then it's it's going to work. And it would take a few seconds out of your day, and you'd have an absolutely, totally reliable operating system level backup.
Yeah. Not many of us are going to do that, aren't we? Because we like that sort of something. We bought something; it's going to take care of it for us.
Well, if it works, use it. I just use it because it's by far quicker. And sometimes, if I'm operating on a WordPress site and I don't have Backup Buddy installed, it's just way quicker to do it this way than it is to get Backup Buddy, stick it in, license it, and then go through all the bits and pieces. But and presumably you could automate that stuff as well if you knew what you were doing. I've never automated it. I just type it in at the time I need it, but it could certainly be automated.
Yeah. Should we tell them that we were poking around in a Backup Buddy backup?
Yeah,
it was interesting, wasn't it? Because we were trying to work out what it did differently. And we'd heard, and it was kind of more rumor, that Backup Buddy could have some failings when you're restoring because it has to put everything back together for you. And it's absolutely right. When you go and look at the database, it actually stores all of the different tables as their own SQL files, doesn't it?
Right, yeah. Whereas the MySQL dump just stores the you could do it that way if you wanted, but you just use the one command to back the whole thing up into an SQL file, and it just worked. The other way, of course, of doing all this stuff would be using something like PHP MyAdmin. I'm sure that there's export options in there. Not that I've ever used them, but I bet there's an export button and an import button. Less likely to be accurate than with the command line, I would say, but I'm sure entirely possible. But there you go. But the Backup Buddy file, there's in the site that I just looked at, there was about 30 or 40 SQL files indicating each of the tables in the database, and I think that's right. I think that's where it's getting them from. It was in, I can't remember the route we found it, but it was in WP-content Backup Buddy temp or something like that. And that's another point of failure possibly, but it's never failed for me.
No, it hasn't for me. And I guess you could, you're right, you can import and export directly. So you could import those tables individually, I guess, if everything went wrong.
Yep. My personal take on backing up is that I literally don't think you can have enough of them. I think if you back up all the things to all the places all the time, that's better than sticking with one thing and hoping it's working correctly 6 months from the last time you tested it.
Yeah.
So I have server backup. I have command line backups, which essentially are similar things. I have Backup Buddy backups, which I send off in all different directions. So they're stored in about 4 different places. And it's crazy, I know, but it makes me sleep better at night.
Yeah, so I'm exactly the same. So I've got my S3 and then I've got my local server. And then I've got, which we were going to talk about, which was the server backups themselves. So I don't know how this works with other services, but certainly I am paying for DigitalOcean and Cloudways to do backups for me of the server. Yep. So the whole server's getting backed up.
Yep. I have exactly the same thing. Yeah, and that's a giant file. And it includes everything, all the settings and what have you. Less required, I would say, than. But obviously, if it's your business, then it's important to have that. But if you're just maintaining one or two WordPress sites or your own WordPress site, you don't need to probably go as far as that. You just need the files and the database, either for keeping as a backup or for migrating. There we go. Yeah. Is that backing up done?
I think it is. We didn't mention because actually you put me onto the other thing that I use for backups, which is my whole computer files, and that actually includes backups as well, and they're all going to SpiderOak.
Ah, yes, the venerable SpiderOak.
Yeah.
We both have a lifetime not a lifetime, an unlimited account, don't we? So in my case, the Google Drive backup of the backup body backup comes onto my Mac through the Google Drive Mac app, which has got a different name now. I think it's called something like Backup and Sync. What's it called? Backup and Sync from Google. And then SpiderOak, being SpiderOak, crawls my local computer and sticks anything new it finds up into another repository somewhere in North America. So yeah, there's more stuff. So again, GDPR fun to be had with all those backups, but nevertheless, it's more. It's more backups, which I quite like the idea of, but it's all encrypted before it leaves your computer with SpiderOak anyway. So it's good. Done. Great. Backing up. Done. Right. Okay. Let's say goodbye to this bit and go to the interview bit. So it's interview time on the WP Builds podcast. And this week we've had somebody, I think I've been trying to get this gentleman on for quite a long time, and various things, his calendar didn't meet with my calendar and this, that and the other. But finally, here we are. I've got Sujay Pawar all the way from India. And you'll know Sujay because he's behind the company Brainstorm Force. Perhaps the company name doesn't ring a bell, but the products that they produce certainly will, because they're behind the increasingly popular Astra Theme. They're behind Ultimate Addons for Beaver Builder, Convert Pro. Do you know what? I could go on, but I'm going to wait there and just say, hi there, Sujay.
Hi, Nathan. Hi, everyone.
Hi. So we'll get stuck into the interview if that's all right, because one of the first things I wanted to ask you was about where you're based, actually, because just before the call, I mean, I knew this already, but perhaps those of you who don't know Sujay will not know that he's based in India. Where exactly in India are you?
Well, I'm in a city called Pune.
Uh-huh.
It's very close to Mumbai.
Yep. And did you grow up with tech and technology and computers in your life, or is this something that you've just recently stepped into? I say recently. When you decided that you were of an age to pursue a career, did you go straight into tech and websites, or did you do something first?
Well, not at all. I grew up in a very countryside where computer and internet was a very, very expensive thing. It was a luxury. So I first started using computers when I was 11 years old, and I was one of the very few people who had access to the computer. And I started using internet when I was 15 years old. So in India, when in the part where I grew up, internet and computers were not common. It's been about 10 years I started using internet and computer.
Where I live in the UK, if you were to walk into a classroom of a typical school, there would be a little row of computers, and there'd probably be access to tablets somewhere in the school and all of that kind of stuff. And they've got access to all this. And when the children go home, a significant proportion of people would have access to the internet and a computer somewhere lying around. Would you say that now is the case in India, or is India still not that way?
No, it is a case in India now. Internet is very cheap. Computers are cheap. Mobile and smartphones are everywhere. You see them in every kid's hands. So it has changed dramatically.
The reason that I ask these questions is because from where I'm sitting, it seems that India is kind of almost like, I mean, the whole of India, if you like, feels a bit like Silicon Valley, maybe 10 years ago, in that I get emails quite a lot from internet marketers, and I'm in quite a few Facebook groups where SaaS products are launched and WordPress plugins and so on and so forth. And it feels to me like, most of the stuff that I'm seeing, new stuff that I'm seeing, is actually coming out of India. Do you think I've got that right, or have I just got a skewed Facebook feed?
I think you're partially right. Education system in India is very, very robust. Computers, technology, and things like this are a little bit natural to India because maths is a very common subject in India. So I believe you are partially right there.
Yeah, it always felt to me like there was a strong drive towards maths in the education system of India. A lot of the more famous mathematicians over time have actually been from India, haven't they? Well, it's certainly interesting. And again, the reason I asked is because it feels like there's a giant swelling of internet companies and tech companies in India. I wondered how that made it, whether that was easier to pursue the line of work that you do in India, or if indeed that is a lot harder. So, for example, in the UK, it's fairly easy to make a living out of building websites and using WordPress and so on. But in the industry that you're in, I just wondered, because it feels like so many people are involved in it. Do you find it's incredibly hard to turn a profit or to stand out from the crowd, or has it been fairly plain sailing for you?
Well, when we started in 2009, when I started Brainstorm Force, at that time, internet was very luxury, like I said.
Yep.
It was very difficult to find customers who wanted websites. But time had changed. Internet has become very, very accessible. Computers are everywhere seen. Smartphones are there. So things have changed. It's definitely a different scene now than what it used to be when I started.
When you began, and you said that very few people wanted websites, and your business was to build websites, did you look outside of India to I don't know, Europe, Australia, North America, or something like that, in order to get those website contracts, or did you concentrate on India and just find the ones that really did need your services?
I started in 2009. And when we started, the first website we created was for my college. So we found some customers from India, some from referrals who were coming from Australia, US, and different parts of the world.
Yep.
So it's a mixed audience. It used to be a mixed audience for us. Yeah.
And now, if somebody was beginning to create a WordPress website building business in India, presumably because there's this giant swell of companies and businesses taking off left, right, and centre, it would be fairly straightforward to find people in your local area who were willing to pay for those websites to be built.
That's right. It's actually, I believe, easier to find customers in India nowadays than to find customers in UK, US.
Yeah.
Because most of the businesses in India still don't have a website.
Wow.
So you have huge market share and you can find customers more easily.
Yeah. I mean, everything that I read, hear, see about India just makes me feel like it's the place to watch in the future regarding tech. It just feels like all of the stars are aligning, and that you're in the right place. I think, really. Anyway, let's move on, and we'll talk a little bit about the stuff that you've achieved since 2009. Now, I don't know the exact order that you've released products, but I came into your list of product purchases when Beaver Builder came out, because just coincidentally, the time that I was coming into WordPress from Drupal, there was lots of talk about Beaver Builder, and I hopped on and I bought my first license for Beaver Builder. And then sure enough, within literally about 10 days, Ultimate Addons for Beaver Builder came out, and you were offering a fantastic offer at that time for a license. So I hooked onto it, and ever since then, the products have just been coming left, right, and centre. How did you? Would you like to tell us a little bit about your product history? What was the first product that you could buy that you launched, and do you want to just talk us through the evolution of your business over time?
Sure. So when I started, we were a digital marketing SEO company, and slowly we moved into website development, design, and custom development services. WordPress was one of our biggest source of development, or biggest, most of our customers came from WordPress ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2012 or 2013, we released our first free plugin on WordPress repository. It was about SEO. It is called all-in-one schema.org snippets.
Yes.
It is related to SEO and where our routes come from. And from there, we had many people reach out to us who were asking custom development, custom plugins, and custom WordPress solutions. So that's how we got into the WordPress plugins business. We were agency. We were like about 20 people, and many of our customers were WordPress users. And we needed some easier solutions for our customers who we can build from. And at that time, Visual Composer was very popular, and our first product was Ultimate Addons for Visual Composer. Visual Composer was very difficult, and it did not have many features. So we tried to extend it. We tried to add more features in it, and we actually did not know we can sell that. We reached out to the author of Visual Composer, and we asked them if they would like to take our code and bake that into our product. But they advised that we can just build it as an add-on and sell that to other users, which we did. It became instantly very popular. So that's our first product for that was our first commercial product.
Presumably, you are now, with that success with Visual Composer. I confess, I don't think I've ever really used Visual Composer. I understand the premise. It looks like a sort of bridging gap between a fully featured page builder like Beaver Builder or Elementor and just handwriting all the code yourself. It's sort of, it's like little building blocks, isn't it? But having had success from that, do you now, is everything that you do related to WordPress, or do you get involved in other CMSs or other platforms?
Initially, we tried to work with Joomla, WordPress, Drupal, and other even custom coding. Mm-hmm. But now we are totally focused on WordPress solutions.
Yeah. So Visual Composer gave you the opportunity to create a profitable product. Where did you go from there? What was the next thing that you turned your attention to?
Our main business was still agency, even though we had launched a very successful plugin that was add-on for Visual Composer. Agency business was still our main source of income. So after Visual Composer, we did not really launch new products, but people came to us people reached out to us asking if we can develop add-on for Visual Composer, if we can develop add-on for Beaver Builder as well, which was becoming very, very popular. So we looked into the Beaver Builder. It felt really very good solution that we can develop another product for. And we launched add-on for Beaver Builder, which is known as Ultimate Addons for Beaver Builder.
And presumably that also made you feel good, because my guess is that was also quite successful. I mean, certainly everybody that I know who uses Beaver Builder, tucked away somewhere in their suite of products that they've purchased, is one of your Ultimate add-on licenses. Again, would you look back on that and say, yeah, we were very pleased with the way that went?
Definitely, I would say that. So it was in 2016, and from there we have tried to focus more and more on the product side and less on the agency side. Nowadays, most of our team is working on the products more than the agency business, because it is bringing more revenue for us these days.
Do you plan to drop the agency side? I mean, obviously that's not something you necessarily want to say out loud, but given a fair wind and a few years under your belt, would that be something that would be desirable for the company to be producing plugins exclusively?
I wouldn't say so, because our agency business is very settled. We have a very good retainer customers who send us business every month.
Great.
So that business is very stable, and I have a partner. I have a team which is dedicated for our service business.
Yeah.
And that part of the business actually gives us quite nice feedback on which things are going in the market.
Yes.
What are the needs of the customers. And we get to get a chance to work closely with our customers, so we understand their needs better.
Yeah.
And is the way we can develop better products. So I don't think we will drop our agency business anytime soon.
That's nice, because I mean that seems to be a way that a lot of people go. They have a successful plugin which occupies lots of their time, but you seem to have a fairly large team, so you can probably branch out in all these directions, which is lovely. Now, a lot of people who produce plugins for WordPress find it really difficult to have one hit. They would struggle to get one plugin that enables them to have a nice income and so on. And yet, in the story so far, you've managed to have two. Are you, well, I know that you'll be pleased with the way that it's worked out and your success and so on, but are you sometimes surprised by the way that you've been able to earn a living out of WordPress? Because there's so many people who try it and it doesn't work out for them.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm surprised, because it was a strategic decision to go full time in the WordPress. Before WordPress, we were doing other kind of custom development as well. And WordPress WordPress was growing, and that's how we decided to go full time and have a dedicated team or 100% focus in the WordPress. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It just kind of feels like there's so many people who release plugins and try to make a living desperately hard out of things that are attaching onto WordPress. And I think it's fair to say that a lot of them start with great intentions but fall by the wayside. Maybe they've gone too niche, or their product isn't quite good enough for the money that they're charging, or simply that, they don't have the marketing strategy to make it work, and it doesn't pan out for them. But okay, so in your story, success has come via Visual Composer and then Beaver Builder. But it feels to me like since the Ultimate Addons for Beaver Builder came out, you've really ratcheted up your plugin work rate, because, well, things have gone through the ceiling recently. We've got a whole suite of things which are probably fair to say have been done in the last year. Let me just go through the site. If you go to brainstormforce.com/products, we've got Convert Pro, we've got All-in-One Schema Pro, we've got WP Portfolio. You've very recently put out Ultimate Addons for the Elementor page builder. And then finally, something that we'll concentrate on in a moment, you've got your Astra Theme, which has just gone ballistic. Presumably you've taken on some new developers. You made a strategic decision to put your efforts into this. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this newfound vigor that you've got over the last couple of years?
So these sound like a huge list of products, but it's actually not. They are very related and relevant to each other.
Yes.
What we want to do is create a suite of products that are useful for agencies like us. So most of our products are like, add-ons for page builders. So one is an add-on for Visual Composer, another is an add-on for Beaver Builder, and third one is an add-on for Elementor, which we released very recently. So we understand page builder space really very well. We understand the users of page builder. Of course, there are differences between each user base, but still, like, they share some common expectations from page builders. And we are, since we are developing add-ons for page builders, we know the challenges, we know the pain of users, and we know like what it takes to build a good extension for page builder from the experience. The product that we have, Convert Pro, was actually requested by one of our customer. It was a custom development project. We developed it, we released it for the customer, and we extended even further. We worked on it and we released it as a Convert plug, which is now known as a Convert Pro.
Yep.
So it was built out of a request of a customer plus our own need. We had a very well-selling product on Envato Marketplace, Ultimate Addons for Visual Composer.
Yes.
We wanted to build a list of people who might be interested in purchasing our plugin, or simply build an email list. So that's why we built Convert Pro and we released it to the
It's I've got
Yeah.
I've got a working copy of Convert Pro on the WP Builds website. Actually, we run giveaways, which you've actually taken part in. Actually, quite successfully, as it turns out. We use it to gather in emails to put them on our subscribe list, but I also use it to create like little pop-ups. In our case, they sit nicely on the bottom just to alert people to the fact that we've got a giveaway. So at the moment, Bradley Kirby is giving away Wallace Inline for Beaver Builder. We've got another one coming up next week, but it's the most beautifully designed, straightforward drag and drop pop-up and top bar and bottom bar and slide in builder. If you haven't used it, I would seriously go and check it out. I was really impressed by the fact that you've put in a lot of work into not only the I'm going to call it a page builder, the pop-up builder, if you like. So, you can really fine tune things to the pixel level. Form fields you can drag with handles and you can position everything, and it's really well done. But also the amount of integrations. I use all sorts of peculiar autoresponders. Like I use Sendy quite a lot, and I use Mailster quite a lot, and you never ever find things that are integrated with those. But ConvertPro does. Well done.
Thank you.
It's really, really great. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, go and check out Convert Pro. And then let's dwell a little bit on. Well, we could talk about all-in-one Schema Pro, but there's probably not as much to say about that. And WP Portfolio, again, not as much to say. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the I'll say recently launched, but it probably is maybe a year or more ago since you launched Astra.
Now, it's 10 months old.
10 months. Yeah.
Right.
It felt like that. Well, anyway, it's under a year. How many people are using Astra now?
Right now, when we last checked, or when WordPress last reported, it was 40,000 websites where Astra Theme is installed right now.
Man alive. You must be delighted.
There is still a lot to do, so I'm definitely delighted, but there is still so much work to do.
Yeah, I mean, going into the theme business, that's quite a big step, isn't it? Why did you decide? I mean, let's be honest, you go to the WP repo, there's 1,010,000,000 themes. If you go and trawl around the internet for WordPress themes, there's slightly less than 1 billion paid for themes with pro add-ons and things. Why? I mean, first of all, congratulations for making a success of a paid theme. That can't be easy. But why did you decide, amongst all the other things, that you'd do a theme which is already in a crowded space?
Most of the themes, to be honest, I mean, there are thousands of themes on the repository and on the internet, but very few, in my opinion, are done so that cater the market needs that are today. Page builders have taken the WordPress ecosystem, and there are very few themes that work really very well with page builders, because page builders nowadays do most of the heavy lifting.
Yep.
So we wanted to develop a theme that was very fast, very performance focused, minimal, well coded, and something that really works well with page builders, which is where most of our products are from.
Yeah.
So I believe that is why Astra Theme is successful, because we have a laser focus that our theme is very performance focused. It is very fast, and it works well with page builders.
I'd be quite interested if you could dwell just for a minute more on what you, because we often hear this, don't we? It's fast and it works well with page builders and these kind of things. What does that actually mean for somebody like you and your company who's building this theme? Obviously, everybody sets out, we would like the theme to be fast. What does that mean? What do you have to achieve in order for it to be fast? What steps did you need to take to ensure that happened?
Sure. So there are a lot of technical things that you can look into when you say you're developing a fast theme. So first of all, your queries need to be optimized. You need to write clean code, which is not making a lot of calls and things like that. You have to look into your HTTP requests and make sure that your theme is well optimized so that it is not making so many HTTP requests and things like that. So your style sheet has to be very, very optimized. And Astra doesn't even use jQuery, so it has a very, very small footprint on the front end of the website.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I must admit, everybody that I know that's used it would concur. I think it's widely agreed that it is fast, and it does all of those things really well. And in terms of the page builder integrations, for those of you that don't really use a page builder, what is it that makes a theme suitable for page builder use as opposed to unsuitable?
So the first requirement for a page builder theme is there has to be a template so that users can make their pages full width.
Yep.
There has to be an option so they can turn off the title and feature image and things like that. So that is basically this is a very minimal way to describe what a page builder friendly theme is, because there are many things that have come out recently, such as Beaver Themer, Elementor 2.0, which is coming out. But this is the basic way to make your theme page builder friendly.
Yes.
Offer users a way to turn off the title, have a full width page template.
Yeah, it must be really annoying if you don't know your way around WordPress to buy the page builder and purchase a theme and then realise I can't get the title to go away and it's not full width. Problems that lots and lots of people go into the Beaver Builder Facebook group and presumably the Elementor page Facebook group as well and just query that exact question. Yeah, right. I mean, I got in almost immediately as soon as you came out, because you've also around the all of your suite of products, you've got this overarching thing called the agency, the Astra agency license. And am I right in saying that just about everything that you offer is bundled into that one plan?
That's right. Our premium products, which are not on Envato, which are our old products, just excluding those, whatever we have developed so far, we have bundled that in one package called Astra Agency, because most of these products are developed for our agency business from our needs. So we believe those are useful to other agencies as well.
Yeah.
So that is the agency bundle. We have bundled our most popular products in one suite of in one bundle, and we are calling that Astra Agency.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it takes care of so many things. You get the theme, you get the add-ons for the page builders, plural now. And essentially, it takes a lot of the heavy lifting and the searching for a disparate load of plugins that you might need to find and just puts them all under your roof. And what's been lovely for me is that as time has gone on, it's grown. A little while ago, there wasn't the Schema Pro in there, and then suddenly it popped up one day and I was like, oh, that's great. I've now got another thing. So that's my next question, really. You keep adding things into the agency plan, and could you tell us a little bit about the roadmap, if there's anything that's not too top secret and that you can reveal? Tell us about what's happening in the future.
Right now focus is improving our current line of products. By that, what I mean is we have good roadmap for each of the products we have released so far. It is public. We have Trello board for each of the product, and we have published our roadmap. So there are quite some things that we still want to do in our existing products. So our current focus is, quality is always important than quantity. So our focus is to improve our current line of products, add more features into it, cater to the existing requests that our customers have submitted. So that's our current focus. To be honest, we don't plan to develop anything new very soon because there is still so much to do in our existing line of products.
One of the things that constantly comes up with me and my friends in the WordPress space is stability. And personally, I mean, I don't speak for everybody, obviously, but I would that really encourages me, because I would far rather have 3 things that worked brilliantly well, and I could rely on, and I knew weren't going to be screwed every time I click the update button, than 6 things which were a bit patchy. So I think that's great. It's nice to hear that you've decided enough is enough for now. We'll get these ones and we'll tweak them and add the features that the community are telling us about and make them absolutely perfect. Great. Thank you, Sujay. Well, we aim normally to go for about 20 odd minutes. We're on about 28 minutes. So If it's okay with you, I'm going to kind of draw this to a close. Firstly, though, I'd like to draw attention to the fact that Sujay is offering WP Build listeners a 15%, I think you said, was that right? Discount?
That's right, 15%.
How do we go about doing that? Should I put that in the show notes? Have you organised that yet, or do you want me to just tell them in the show notes?
What I will do is I will create a coupon, WP Builds without any space, all in caps. So maybe our listeners can go ahead use that to purchase Astra Agency or any of our product.
Perfect. Oh, that's really kind. Thank you. I mean, for those of you that haven't experienced his things before, reach out to me, reach out to David. I know that we use their products on a sort of daily basis. Reach out to us in the Facebook group and we can tell you all about what's going on and how we've used it and, you know, what we think of it, which will be very positive, I'm sure. So it remains only for me to say thank you, Sujay, for coming on today. I really appreciate it. And good luck for the future with all of your products.
Thank you, Nathan. It's a pleasure to finally come on the WP Builds podcast.
Yeah, it's been a long time in coming. I'm glad that we've finally done it. You never know, One day, maybe, in a distant galaxy far, far away, we'll actually meet up and shake hands. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I will. I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Have a nice day, and I'll speak to you soon.
All right, Nathan. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And today's ending fact comes again from impactbnd.com. And we're looking at the fact that is number 18. And it is that a single second delay on your website loading time can result in a 7% loss in conversion. And 40% of web users will abandon a website if it takes longer than 3 seconds to load. Wow.
That's pretty scary, actually. That's an awful lot of people jumping off. What did you say? 3 seconds?
Yeah, 3 seconds. Now, the 7% loss with 1 second, I've heard this statistic for a long, long time, but that's really new to me.
That's an awful lot of really, really tetchy people. do you think things, even like really amazing websites with all the power in the world, like Facebook, they're not going to load in a second, are they?
No. Do you know what? This is something on the load here, because we were just looking at WP builds and the load time there. And actually, different components load. So the final load is probably not what we're talking about. We're probably talking about people if they don't get some type of content within the 3 seconds, surely.
Okay. Yeah, I would imagine that. Something to read, like an indication that something's happening. Is that what we mean, really? You know, there's a logo now and a few bits of text have started to appear and so on.
Yeah, maybe. I think it must be that.
Either way, 1 second is really dramatically fussy, I think. That's my impression of that. You know, if 1 second is less than time than it takes you to say 1 second. And so not to give it that amount of time, if you're going to lose 7%, that speaks of a real I don't know, an attention span problem, doesn't it? But also 40% in 3 seconds. Well, 3 seconds. But, you know, it's creeping up to half of your visitors. I know that there's an awful lot of talk in all the communities in WordPress about caching plugins and the ways to do it. And obviously recently we had HardyPress on who've taken this to heart. Amazing. I mean, we can't argue with it. If that is a statistic and they've done their research and that's the truth, then that's the truth. But boy.
Even if not, I'm using it because if I want to stop those front page sliders appearing, I might just be able to throw this one saying, you know what, we're at risk here.
Wasn't there a feature of some of the browsers? I don't know if it still does this, where didn't they start to cache links that were on the page that you were currently looking at just in case you wanted to go to them? I'm sure that was a technology that was going to be in the browsers, if not is in the browsers. They would, let's say you went to the BBC homepage, they would then start to cache all the links around it. And then if you didn't use any of those links, they would just bin them. So that you were right there, on the money as soon as you hit go and so on. And then there's all this sort of AMP technology, which I confess I haven't really explored, where they try to get to load things more or less instantly. And again, I'm not really sure of how that technology works.
Yeah, so we've given them 1 2/2 of ending facts this time.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. You got value for money. Right, there you go. That is our ending fact. All that remains for us today is to say thank you. Thanks for listening to the WP Builds podcast again. We'll be back next week, but go and share it on iTunes and Facebook and anything, anywhere, anything. That would be very, very nice. And so goodbye from me, Nathan Wrigley.
And goodbye for me, David Wormsey. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. Cheesy music has probably been fading in by now. So see you next week. Have a nice week.